What is up, everybody? Is your guy Tyler here with Mom's Basement MMA, and I've delivered on another call out. You guys might remember a couple months ago I called out big, sexy Billy Swanson. Here he is in front of us. He's looking big, he's looking sexy, and Billy, man, thank you for being here. And how are you doing this afternoon?
Man, I'm doing good. I just got home from the gym. We ran an open mat. We had a couple people compete out of the gym yesterday and get a few wins at B2 Fight Series. So just ran an open mat and just chilling.
I wanted to talk to Billy because I was just so impressed that he took a fight in Bellator MMA against an insanely tough opponent. No camp, no nothing. You went in there, it was a last minute thing. You replaced Stephen Mowry and you were fighting Marcelo Golm. I don't know what happened with Mowry, but we'll get into that a little bit. But I kind of want to start there, Billy. Like, were you expecting the call from Bellator when you did? Like, we're in strange times right now. We got the coronavirus. I understand in the fight business, fights fall through all the time. I feel like with the coronavirus, it's kind of like a bang bang though. Fights fall through all the time. We got corona on top of that. Just times are crazy for everybody. Was this something you were expecting? How did this whole Bellator bout come together?
Well, man, from the time I was an amateur, I've said I'm on a world level. I should be competing on that level. That like there's no reason for me to be fighting locally. People haven't believed me. They thought I was just somebody that was just talking out my ass. And like I've continued to prove that fight after fight. And like, was I expecting the Bellator call? Kinda, sorta, but not really. Like, they called me on 4 days' notice. I really hadn't been competitively training for like a month or so because I'd had a shoulder injury that I was resting. But I'm not gonna pass up an opportunity like that because, like, man, one, the pay, like, like I said to you earlier, like people don't understand the pay difference in a regional fight to a fight like I fought for Bellator. Like you go from making hundreds of dollars to thousands of dollars. And like that makes such a big difference. So like the risk versus the reward is so much better. Like, and people don't understand that. So like the point I'm at fighting locally is I have to fight these UFC caliber guys who have went to the UFC and washed out in order to get pulled up there. And I fight them for $400, or I turn around and I take a fight on 4 days' notice and get paid thousands of dollars. And like, my name's been in the pool for, the Bellator heavyweights. It's in professional fight leagues heavyweights. It's in a bunch of these, but I think I kind of shot myself in the foot as an amateur by staying amateur as long as I did. And, people are like, well, what do you mean by that? Well, I kind of showcased too much of my talent before I was getting paid and progressing through professional fight rankings because I was 9-1 as an amateur, number one in Tennessee, number one in the Southeast, and the UMAF national champion. None of that matters as a pro. And that doesn't get me any closer to a Bellator contract, UFC contract, or anything, but that shows all these pros on a regional level like, shit, this guy just fucked everybody up. Like, I don't want to fight this guy. So, like I said, a lot of these regional heavyweights demand some UFC pay, or I've got to fight an ex UFC guy for cheap pay. So it's just kind of like a hit or miss, and kind of you got to take the opportunity when it comes. I no disrespect to Bellator because they treated me greatly. Like there's not a single bad thing I could say about any of the people with how they treated me, accommodated me, all that. They took good care of me. But I would like, hopefully, that they give me a full fight camp because, I mean, like I said, dude, I've had a lot of fights. And when you give me a fight camp, 9 times out of 10, I win that fight. And it literally, to take a fight on 4 days' notice, I think if anything, that fight proved that I have balls to step in there against a guy who nobody else wanted to fight. He had 6 different opponents pull in 6 months leading up to that fight. And I took it on 4 days' notice, and the only reason that guy got to fight. So that's the reality is people don't give me enough justification for having the balls to actually even step in there against somebody from American top team, Coconut Creek. That's like literally the best camp in the world right now.
And Marcelo Golm is a nasty, big, scary dude. And from a competitive standpoint, Billy, you're hitting on two things that I think are really notable and worth mentioning again. Like, the competition is there. It's just the paychecks aren't following the competition. You fight locally, you win against some tough dude, a UFC vet. Maybe he's on a slump. Now he's trying to get called back up, so he takes a couple local fights. But you're doing that for $800, best case scenario. Against the, I mean, it's high risk, no reward for you. Because
But
also in a
but
way,
that's the thing is, man, you got to take that's the shitty thing about it. Unless you're somebody that comes from WWE where you've got a million followers, or an Olympic sport like Gable Stevenson, or
mhm,
somebody that could jump in on a main card like that because you've got such a following, you've got to take the road that I've taken. And the shitty thing is, man, unless you build that following along that road, and I don't get me wrong, I've built a good following. Like a lot
mhm,
of people know me in the Southeast very well. And but that's the reality is, like, unless you build that following to where you got millions of people, they're going to bring you in on a shitty offer like 4 days notice
right.
and try and feed you to one of those guys. And like, I feel like if I didn't own my own gym and I was at a Black Zillion camp, a American top team camp, I would have already gotten my call,
Right.
because all those guys in there are all in that fucking fight series. You've got all these eyes on, oh, well, who else do you guys have in this gym?
Hmm.
And so, like, I've not gotten my opportunity mainly because I just didn't have the eyes on me. So it took me having to fight all these fights and take out all these people ranked above me before people even really gave me credit to say I was a good fighter.
If you do your research though, and if you dig back in your history, you look at you start peeling back that onion and look at some of the guys that you fought. You're an amazing fighter. You finish guys. Your ground game. I love your jiu-jitsu. It's fantastic, and I think that's one of the things that people aren't going to know about you. They're going to look at you right off the bat. They're going to stereotype you. They're going to be like, oh, he's a country boy who's going to come in and just brawl people. But that's, I mean, not to say you can't do that because you have the stopping power. You're a strong guy. But, like, do people, like, underestimate you and think that you're just I don't want to say scrub, but just some type of, like, bar brawler type
And
because of your
so
persona?
dude, I hear it all the time. So people come up to me all the time and they're like, man, I thought you'd be bigger. I thought you'd be this. I thought you'd be that. And so it happens in the gym too, man. It's happened like, so people don't understand, even when I'm fat and out of shape, how quick I am. And like, how, like, I can do the splits and I'm almost 300 pounds. Like, like it literally, like, I'm very flexible. I'm very agile. People don't understand that. And so, like, you have typically these lighter weight guys that have this ego. And so, like, they'll come into a gym, and I train without ego. So I'm always
Sure.
just in there working on the fundamentals and, shit. Because if I'm training with ego, I'm going to hurt everybody and just try to win the round.
Sure.
And so, like, those guys will come in and, like, they'll start getting pissed off when I'm out techniquing them. And so in their mind, they're like, oh, well, he's a fat ass. So I'm going to pick it up to 100 miles an hour and he won't be able to keep up with me. And they'll just speed up and start throwing 100 miles an hour, like, hard shots. And I'm like, okay. And so then I speed up. And, like, next thing you know, I'm sitting here just picking them apart at their speed. And they're like, what the hell's going on? And one of the funniest things, dude, that I've had happen all throughout my career is, like, a situation like that will start transpiring. And, like, typically what I'll do is, like, I start off real slow with somebody. Like, I always, like, read you and see how you're going to go with me. If you're coming fucking trying to swing for the fences, I'm going to swing back. If you're going live, I'm going to go live. And so, like, I'll kind of fill these people out and I'll lull them in and, like, make them think I'm slow at first because they'll be stereotyping me, like you said, look at me
Mm-hmm.
and think I'm fat and out of shape.
Mm-hmm.
And then they'll try and pick it up like that. And the next thing you know, I'll kick them in their face before they even see it coming. And they'll be like, oh, I didn't even think you could get kicked that high. And I'm like, well, you shouldn't have been thinking. Like,
Yeah, exactly. You are a very exciting fighter to watch, and your speed was definitely something. I'm glad you mentioned that. Your speed was definitely something that I picked up on. You're a big dude, but you move very, very fast for a big guy. And I don't think most guys in the heavyweight class are as fast as you, particularly on the ground. I've seen you slice through people's guards, no problem, lay up some ground and pound. there are guys that you fought that are a lot bigger than you at the heavyweight class, but like when you're on the ground with them, that stuff doesn't matter. Like you're so strong on the ground, you're able to control them. You fought this jacked guy right before the Bellator fight for the
Uh,
AFC championship.
are you talking about Cam?
That guy, he's massive, absolutely massive, and you were able to do what you wanted. I felt through that entire bout. Um, and that's just kind of like I pause and I sit back and I think about the Bellator bout in particular. It's a whirlwind. You don't have a camp. You get called on short notice. There's a lot of shit that goes into that. You fly from Tennessee to wherever the bout was in South
It was
Dakota.
Sioux Falls, South Dakota. South Dakota.
I've been to Sioux Falls, South Dakota. I apologize. There's nothing there. Um, did you like have to cut like while you were trying to get your ass all the way over there?
So
Like, can you walk me through that?
the irony of the whole situation. So I'd been resting my shoulder. Okay, so 2 weeks before I fought for the AFC title, I jack up my shoulder when I'm training with one of my amateurs, letting them drill submission defense on me.
Mm-hmm.
So roll and his knuckles get wedged under my shoulder weird and like roll across it and it like tweaks my shoulder. Well, 2 weeks before that fight, I couldn't even buckle a seatbelt with my right arm.
Oh God.
Just using my right arm. So I'm like, well, I'm not pulling from this fight. Like, fuck this. This is my first pro title. I'll show up and I'll fight this dude with one arm. Literally told my students in my gym that day when I hurt my shoulder, I'll just knock him out with my left. And like, so I don't do anything crazy. I just stretch and I rest my shoulder for 2 weeks. I take that pro fight, I sub him in the first round. Well, then I take 2 months because like, dude, I'm like I said, I'm fighting for damn chump change right now. So I'm not rich. So I don't have money to pay for a shoulder surgery and be able to sit out that long. Mm-hmm. So I'm like, all right, well, I'll rest my shoulder and let it, heal up over the next month, 2 months. So I rested and I was coaching. We took some people down to the IKF Muay Thai World Championship in Orlando in July. Had a kid he was 13 at the time, win an IKF International Kickboxing World Championship. And we came back and so after we were back, I'd rested for about 2 months. And ironically, the Sunday, right, the day before I get the call, I tell my girlfriend, I'm like, babe, I need to get back in shape. You never know when I'm going to get my call. I need to get back ready now that my shoulder's healed.
Right.
Come to the gym the next day, run my morning or have some shit go on in the morning where I was dealing with a water leak and had to dry my mats and stuff. And go get like $20 at Taco Bell, dude. And I'm eating the hell down, man. And as soon as I eat the last taco, get a text like, hey, you want to fight for Bellator this weekend? And I'm like, well, shit. Like, one, I don't know if I'm going to have anybody be able to run my gym, but, like, am I going to be able to get licensed? All this shit starts running through my head. But I'm like, first, let me see what I weigh. I go step on the scale. I'm 284. So I have to cut with the allowance 266. Okay. So I'm like, shit. Like, I'm like almost 20 pounds over right now. I'm like, well, I could take the fight, but I've got a lot of weight to cut. Like, keep in mind, this is like 2:00 on Monday.
Right.
All right. And I have to weigh in at noon on Friday or at
Thursday. Yeah.
Noon on Thursday. Okay. So, like, I'm like, oh, man, dude, this is insane. Like, what am I going to do? So I start cutting a little bit of weight that night. I thought they were going to fly me out. Something happens when the dude goes to book the flight where he booked it right at midnight and ended up booking my flight for Wednesday morning instead of Tuesday morning.
Oh, Jesus.
But then I don't fly out until Tuesday night. So I use all of Tuesday morning to cut weight while I'm here. I go to the gym. I'm sitting here cutting. I shed like 10 pounds before I leave. So, like, I'm only like roughly 10 pounds over as I go to fly out. Like, I fly out, I get down there. Well, as soon as I get there Tuesday, or when did I get there? I flew out Tuesday night. I think I get there about late Tuesday night. And then they instead of COVID testing me Tuesday night, as soon as I get there, their doctors aren't there. I go to my room and they tell me to go to bed because I'm not been COVID tested yet. So then they do a 24-hour test on me Wednesday morning at 8 a.m. So I can't leave my room to cut this weight. So how am I cutting this weight? I'm having to starve myself in my room and not eat and work out in my room. And so, like, literally, finally at like 11 o'clock Wednesday night, I get the result saying I'm COVID free and can go cut weight, go cut the rest of the weight, get up Thursday morning, have to go get my eye exam for my doctor before I even weigh in. So I had no time to cut Thursday morning. I knew I had to cut it Wednesday night. So I cut it Wednesday night, get up Thursday morning before the weigh-ins to go get my eye exam to get licensed, and then come to the weigh-ins and make weight.
That is insanity. Against a freaking Goliath like this, like this guy. You're doing all this shit, no camp, no nothing, against this guy, against like this opponent. And I sit back and I look at it, and as we were talking before I hit the record button, anytime I see a guy, whether it's Bellator, PFL, UFC, whatever, Combate, if there's a guy that shows up on no notice like that, I always think to myself, this guy is good. There's a reason this guy's getting a phone call. Let's dig deep into his fight history. I want to see what they're seeing. What do they know about this guy that I don't know? And there's a reason they're not going to call just some random knucklehead. You know, it's Bellator is a reputable promotion. They're only going to call the guys that are already on their radar. They already know who you are.
Like I said before, I've been on their radar for quite some time. So right when I went pro, I think it was right before Hunsucker. It might have been before I went pro. It might have actually, yeah, I think it was before I went pro. I first got offered a pro debut against Jack Swagger. As soon as I accepted, he declined. So they were like, don't worry about it. Don't rag him on Facebook. They think you're just too far along for him. They want to build him another fight or two, and then they'll get. So if you look back at Jack Swagger's opponents, you'll see a guy that looks just like me that worked at a fish factory. He declined me for that guy. Okay? So he declines me, fights that guy, beats that guy. All right. So then I'm like, all right, well, maybe now that he's got to win, I'll get the call. So then I have my pro debut, have a couple pro fights. I don't hear nothing about it. So I let Jack Swagger fade away in my memory bank. I'm like, all right, the hell he declined. So then COVID hits, and I had a fight booked for March where I was going to have another regional fight, and COVID hits, and they lock everything down. And so we couldn't use the venue, nothing, like literally 2 weeks before the fight. So as soon as they lock it down, they're like, well, listen, we weren't going to tell you about this opportunity until after your fight because we didn't want to overwhelm you. But Jack Swagger opportunity is back. He has had a couple fights now. They think, we think that you'll be a good next opponent for him, and there's a good chance that he accepts, but we got to wait until this COVID shit clears. I trained for 6-8 months, and finally, after because then I start getting pissed off because then there's local opportunities starting to happen again and all this other shit. And I'm like, well, dude, why am I not fighting either Swagger or fighting local? Like, I need to make money fighting. Like, that's why I do this. I'm not doing it to just sit here and toot my own horn saying I'm a fighter.
Right.
Literally, like, I start getting, pissed off and start kind of pushing the issue. So, like, then finally they're like, all right, we finally got a date for you. And they shoot me back a date. They're like, are you in? And I'm like, yes. Tell them I'm in. They send it over to Swagger. I'd like to explore other options. So sure enough, he declines. Well, guess what? Who he fights? He fights a guy who's not only ranked behind me in Tennessee, but ranked behind me in the Southeast. Not talking shit about the guy, but he fights somebody behind me named Brandon Cottrell, and Brandon almost knocks him out.
Mm-hmm.
Multiple, like drilled his ass quite a few times in that fight.
Right.
And so, like, hats off to Brandon. Like, Brandon had a good show, but like, yet again, Swagger declined. So then I'm like, fuck, dude, here I am. I've just trained for 8 months without taking a fight because I waited on this opportunity. So then, like, a week or two goes by. Well, then they shoot me Davion Franklin. I accept him. He declines me.
No
So
shit.
I'm like, are you fucking kidding me? All these guys at the top level are not going to take this fight. Like, why will they not fight? So then another couple months goes by, and I'm like, fuck it. I guess I'm just going to take another local fight. That's when I booked the AFC title, fight local. I win that fight. And so then, sure enough, like I said, I injured my shoulder, rested for 2 months, and then get my call on 4 days' notice.
That is just an insane story that all that time goes through. Nobody wants to fight you. The fights that you're able to take are. I don't think it's so much for money at that point because some of the amounts that for the local purses, that's not even keeping your lights on. That's just to
Dude, it's
stay
not. It's not
active.
like, man. It's so like I'm very marketable in different ways. Like you can check this hat out. Like this is one of my ways. Do you want to hit this? Like I'm very catchy with like different stuff that I put out there merchandise wise, and like I do have a good following and sell and make shit off ticket commission and sponsorship and stuff
Sure.
like that. But like at the same time, man, like I said, like one, if I'm not fighting, I ain't getting no damn money from my sponsors.
Right.
So like if I go a whole year without a fight, that's all that money I ain't catching.
Mm-hmm.
So like, yeah, I'm on, and they say like, oh, you make most of your money off your sponsors at the regional level, but I still feel like that's horseshit, man. If I sell 7 grand in tickets, okay, I know for a fact it only costs about 500 to about $1,000 to insure, market, and all that per fight. Okay,
Mm-hmm.
now if you put the fight purses in, okay, if my opponent wants 1,000, it costs 3,000 up there. Well, if I sell 7 grand in damn tickets, okay, then I don't see why if my opponent gets the opportunity at 1,000, and the budget for that fight is 3 grand right there on him, then I should be at least able to make 3 grand on my other end, and then pocket a grand off of it on the promotion. But the problem is, man, is you have too many of these people putting on these trash can ass fights because they're trying to water down the system and just keep trying to make money off every single fight and all this. And they got these people that don't understand that no one's going to pay you $1 million unless you put asses in seats.
Right.
Okay. And so, like, the reality of it is, you have these fighters who are co-main event a fight that don't even sell 2 damn tickets to the fight.
And
Like,
that
that's the whole.
and
That's
that's a
the whole.
problem.
Yeah, that's like I said, man. There's a shady side to this business on a regional level where you have either matchmakers who are trying to fuck people and try and cut every dollar they can, or you have you have to fight all these tough guys for cheap ass money and build yourself up.
So what do we
Like,
do about it? Like what's the what like when you look at it, like you're the type of guy that's not going to take no for an answer. You're going to keep doing you and you're a guy that finds a way. What do we do about the current situation you're in? You're kind of in this weird no man's land where there are problems getting bouts at the Bellator PFL level and then there are problems getting bouts on the local level. No one wants to fight you. What do you do about it?
take the opportunities that arise, man. And like that's the shitty thing. Like, don't get me wrong, there are people out there that will take the fight. Like, not to say that there's no one that'll fight me. Like, but the reality of it is like I said, is the risk worth the reward? Like, if the fight's going to be away from Chattanooga and it's a regional show, why am I going to go get paid 400 and 400 with no commission off ticket sales because I ain't going to sell shit 4 or 5 hours away from me?
The purse will
Like,
go right to the plane ticket.
yeah,
That's what's the point?
it doesn't cover it. So like that's the real hit or miss, man.
Right.
So I don't know, like either fight a couple more times locally when opportunities pop up in Chattanooga where I can actually make good money,
Mm-hmm.
or end up down hanging it up and just coaching, man. Like that's the reality that people don't realize is like they say 90% of people, the reason they're on a world level is just because they stayed with the process so long. They took taking those shit paychecks and all that so long. But I feel like part of that is because they've allowed the system where you have these guys who have never trained, never fought, running these fucking promotions, taking every dollar. And like I said, man, don't get me wrong, there are some promotions that are coming around that do treat people well. But I think that the real shit kicker is like, see, I'm the type of guy that if I was a promoter, okay, and somebody hits me up looking for a fight, and you tell me you're not training at a gym, I'm going to recommend any gym in your area
Sure.
before I book you for a fight, compared to some of these assholes who take that and then they send that guy to fight a guy who's 5-0 that trains at like a UFC caliber gym. Like,
just putting a meat bag in front of somebody.
that's exactly what they're doing, man. And like I think that's horseshit, man. The whole reason that the whole sport even got created is not because we're sitting here trying to have a pretty belt or call myself have all these girls. The whole reason MMA got created is because it's to see who is the baddest at that weight class. It's as close as you can get to no holds bars as you can get. Like,
right.
how quickly can I almost beat you to death?
Would you consider, Billy, looking at opportunities in bare knuckle or boxing?
Yeah, man, I'm not against it. Like, I train boxing all the time, but the thing about bare knuckle, man, it's just like you just saw a dude die from bare knuckle. Like, people don't understand like the impact on your head. Like, you never know what punch is going to be your last. And so, like, just the damage alone in getting cut open and shit, like, the only way I would transfer over to bare knuckle is if I'm getting paid good money. Like, I'm not going to go take a bare knuckle fight for fucking $400. Like,
right. Why would
man,
you? That's
like at the end of the day, if I'm doing that, I might as well just fucking go do a backyard fight where there's no fucking sanctioning, and I bet $1,000 on my fucking self and then beat somebody's ass.
Right.
We just need to almost, I've seen posts and articles and shit talking about fighters union and stuff like that. I think really the fighters just need to band together because we're the ones who are providing the entertainment. I think we need to band together and get our fucking pay up. Like, it's insane that we play. And you, first off, let me rephrase that, because you don't play fight.
Right.
Like, when I'm in there, I'm trying to hurt a motherfucker. When they're in there, they're trying to hurt me.
Sure.
So, like, you don't play. It's not a sport that I'm like trying to hold your hand through. Right. Like, and so that's the reality is, like, I think that we need to band together as fighters and get our pay up, because, like, I don't see how something like boxing. Okay, boxing, you can't throw spinning back fist, Superman punches, no kicks, no takedowns. Like, and any time that you feel in danger, you hug him and the ref will break it up.
Pretty much. That's why I don't watch it.
So, like, you're going to tell me that they're able to make $50 million a fucking fight?
Right.
And you've got people at the same level in MMA that aren't getting paid $200,000?
And I don't know boxers. Like, honest to God. I know Wilder. These are the boxers I know. Wilder, Fury, Canelo, and then the Triple G guy. That's it. Honest to God, that's it.
I know Lomachenko. I know a few others. Don't get me wrong. I'm not hating on boxing. Like, because, I mean, there's a lot softer shit, bro. Look at golf.
Yeah.
How are people getting paid so much professionally golfing, but yet we've got people, literally the modern day gladiators, almost beating each other half to death, getting paid a fucking fraction of that.
Yeah, it's not right. And
you're taking 10 times the damage, getting paid literally not even 100th of the fucking amount.
Shit, maybe you and me should start promotion, man.
Dude, I mean, honestly, like I'm in the works of getting some shit rolling, dude. Like, I'm like I said, I'm tired of just seeing a bunch of shady shit go on, and then, like, dude, I own my own gym now, so I'm already in a way kind of matchmaking with fighters, because,
sure.
like I said, man, some of these matchmakers will not tell you the full story behind an opponent before you take that opponent. Like, prime example of some of the offers that have been thrown at me.
Mm-hmm.
Hey, Billy, we've got this UFC veteran, but don't worry, he's way past his prime, has shit striking and no wrestling. Then you show up and the dude's like literally only lost 3 in a row to get knocked out of the UFC, is on like a 4-fight win streak, about back in the UFC, and literally the losses were by decision and fucking all his wins are by knockout.
Right. Yeah. So you have to fight freaking Goliath.
Yeah,
it's insane.
Like I said, it's just, I mean, it's such a fucking a shitty circle that you run with, because, like I said, man, back in the day, like 10 years ago, you didn't have a lot of fight opportunities.
Right.
So you had to like if there was one of these region, that's how these regional promotions got built up, is because you didn't have all these people out here trying to put on these shows. So you had to take these fights when there was fights available, and so they started building these rosters. Well, now you have all these opportunities, man. I see all these different Facebook groups, all this different shit of people finding fights for people all across the country, all across the world. Now you can find shit everywhere. And so it's not that you have to sit here and fight for one promotion and do this, but these small minded people try and make you believe that, like, oh, you need me. Like, I literally got told by the old matchmaker that I used to have a lot of fights for, and I'm not even going to say his name because fuck him. But literally, he literally tried to tell me that I'm where I am because of him. No, you're not. No, I'm not, motherfucker. I fought every monster you brought me, and you couldn't find someone that would beat. Like that. You didn't come in the gym and roll with me, spar with me, coach me. You didn't pay for my fucking gas to get to the gym when I had to put my last $10 in my gas tank, knowing I was hungry. But at least I'd get to go to the gym and train, but I'd still come home out of gas and still hungry.
Right.
Like, and so like I said, man, these people get these fucking false sense of entitlement just because they put the event on. Like, bro, I'm the one that getting out there risking my life fighting the Goliaths.
That's
So,
one of
like,
the reasons.
Paid for it.
That's one of the reasons why I like started this whole thing up, is because I sincerely believe that 99.9% of the fighters out there, nobody gives a shit about. Like, from a promotional standpoint, from people who watch the fights, no one fucking cares. But then all of a sudden, you get the stars that align magically, or through just blood, sweat, and tears, and just through all the hard work and dedication that it takes to compete at your level, you start knocking dudes out. You start building a following. You start getting those opportunities. And then all of a sudden, like a light switch, people start caring, and now people want your attention, and now people want, like, I feel like this industry in general, whether you cover the sport like me or whether you're a competitor in it like you, I find the sport to be very disingenuous. I feel like there are a lot of like carps out there that are just trying to just leech off people, man.
Man, there's so many leeches out there. First off, from matchmakers to managers to coaches to different people, man. There's so many people out there that are shady as fuck in this business. And like, you know, like, first off, just to call a spade, a lot of your fighters are fucking wild at heart and they're partiers. Okay, they love the nightlife. So like, one of the first things that fucking these high level people do to start like deteriorating the fighters, they start giving them these all these party drugs like cocaine. Cocaine not only deplenishes the water in your fucking brain and fucks with the chemicals in your brain, so it makes you more likely to knock you out, but it deteriorates your chin. So like, and then if you're staying up all night, you're not going to the fucking gym the next day.
Yeah, exactly.
And so, like I said, dude, it's like there's so many different shady ways that people will come in and start pulling from you. And like I said, and like prime example, once you get famous and shit, of course, all those people come with the drugs, all this shit, riding your coattail, and they distract you. Mm-hmm. And once you get distracted and you start losing and you fall off,
they're gone.
Bye.
They're gone. They're gone, man.
They're gone as they came. And so like, the real thing is, man, and I preach it to everybody in my gym, is like, you got to stay true to the people who care for you. I don't give a shit if my people win or lose. I'm still gonna love them either way.
Yeah, absolutely.
And that's the reality. I'm still gonna be their coach. I'm still gonna be fighting in their corner, fighting for them. And that's what a lot of people in this world are only gonna be good to you when you're giving them something or when you're doing what they want. Like the old matchmaker I was talking about, as long as I fought those UFC guys for that fucking chump change and shut my mouth and didn't ask for any more pay, he was all fine and dandy, pat me on the back. The moment I started questioning the matchups and asking for more money for him, he tried to throw my ass under the bus.
Well, then fuck him.
Exactly, bro. I'm the type of person where if you think you're going to keep my fucking face in the dirt, you better hope to God you can smother me in the ground. Because when I get up, your ass is going to be in the dirt. And like,
Hey, good on you for being smart enough to like see what was going on and to call a spade a spade. Like I feel that I'm not trying to disrespect any fighters out there. I'm really not, and it's not my place to say. And this might be kind of a shitty remark, but I'll say it anyway. I feel like there are a lot of guys that try to people please in this business, and I understand it. You have to have friends in this business. You have to have suits that are your friends. You have to have fans that are your friends. You have to be good with media. There are a lot of like people you need to be tight with. You need to have like a group of people that you can rely on to get your name out there, to find you good fights. There's a small little army of people that you need. And I feel for some of these fighters, they're trying to please all those people.
I feel
And
like,
when you do
well, man,
that, you just kind of fuck yourself 9 times out of 10.
yes. And so, like, all right. So I tell all my fighters, okay, why do you get nervous before you fight? Okay, a lot of people don't understand that. They're like, oh, it's because you're about to go to war. You're nervous because you're no. The reason you're fucking nervous is because you're nervous about what all your friends, your family, all the critics, all these people are going to say if you lose.
Right.
Who gives a fuck? They're all too scared to get in there.
Right. That's true.
So, like, as long as you're in there having fun, who gives a shit if you lose? You're learning. You're going to learn more from a loss than you are a win. And
100%.
the reality of it is you're building a memory. Like,
Yeah.
man, I've been able to fly all across the country, soon all across the world. And so, like, dude, it's literally, who gives a shit if I lose? Like, yeah, that's a hiccup along the way, but I get to travel places I've never been for free.
And you had the opportunity. Like, you had the opportunity. You've been able to compete at this sport at the highest level. Your damn event was on Showtime. How many hundreds of thousands of people watched that event? That you otherwise, like, you got that exposure. Like, you got your piece of the pie that an overwhelming majority of fighters out there don't ever get. They can't even dream about it, and you've been
Well,
there.
see, and that's what a lot of people don't realize as well, is I'm young.
Right. Not even 30.
I'm 27.
Right.
I'll
You're
be
not even.
28 in March.
Man, you're.
If you look at the average age of half of these heavyweights, they're in their late 30s to early 40s.
Right. Yeah.
So if I'm already on the level I'm on, if I have, say, another 10 years, I've gotten this far in fucking 7. Imagine where I'm going to get in the next 10. Like, and like, that's the reality, man. I stay a student to it. Like, I tell people all the time, like, the moment you're not a student to it and you think you know all is the moment you know nothing. I study everything. I study boxing, kickboxing, Muay Thai, jiu-jitsu, wrestling. I study it all, man, because I tell people in the gym, like, I quote a lot of Bruce Lee too. So I'm a redneck that loves some Bruce Lee, but man, I preach fluidity. Okay. Right. And like, you want your fighting style to be like water. Okay. Like, or be fluent. Like, and Bruce says, be like water. Whatever you put water in, it becomes. Okay. So you put water in a cup, it becomes that cup. Jug becomes that jug. And that's the reality. You want your fighting style to be like that. Wherever the fight goes, you want to be comfortable and be able to have options there and at least be able to get back to where you're strong or get the fuck out from where you're at.
Right.
And people don't understand that. And so it's like, you want that fluidity. They overly focus on a certain thing. Oh, I'm really good at boxing. What the fuck are you going to do when somebody wrestles you?
Yeah, we're not boxing though. It's mixed martial arts.
Yeah, and that's and so like I said, man, I have to say, like, and it could be me being biased, but I would say that in my personal opinion, man, I built a gym where I very well round people. Like, we're training gi and no gi jiu-jitsu, MMA grappling classes where we do a lot of rolling and with punches. And it differentiates sport grappling to fucking MMA. We do a lot of kickboxing, boxing, Muay Thai classes. There's fitness kickboxing classes for getting in shape, man. Like I said, I've got completely, I'm trying to well round you, like the one-stop shop if you want to compete or if you just want to get in really good shape and learn how to defend yourself. And so like I said, man, that's the, people don't take that approach. They like a certain aspect of fighting and they're like, all right, well, I'm gonna get really good at this. What are you
Yeah.
gonna do when you ain't in that spot? And
Yeah.
like
Yeah,
that's the
all that
saying.
boxing in the world's not going to help you if you get taken down.
No, it's the truth. I use the saying, one of two things happens when you get put in a position. Okay. And a position could be anything. It could be one, it could be, apply to all aspects of life. It could be somebody pulling a gun on you. It could be you getting jumped. It could be somebody throwing a jab at you, doing a double leg, you being on the back of your head. Either one of two things happens. Either you've been in the position before, and it's a matter of who is been in that position more is going to react quicker and catch the other one in hesitation. Or you've never been in that position before and you're going to pause, panic, and then you're beat. Okay. And so that's the reality. That's why you go to the gym and train. Like, yes, we all want to stack these accolades and be a world champion and be this Conor McGregor that's got all this money, but it's not for us all. The real reason why you train martial arts is so that you don't have some crackhead run up to you on the street and fucking knock you down and stomp your fucking face. Like, right. That's the whole reason you train it. Like, it's so you can protect yourself. And that's the reality is like too many people, whether they're trying to compete or even just train, they trying to cling too hard on one aspect of it and don't really look at the real derivative of what they're trying to accomplish.
Yeah, and I think that's important. And I'm glad that you're like one of those refreshing guys that doesn't have a filter. You're just gonna say it for what it is and what the truth is, and that's just it's nice to hear, man. It really is, and I understand it. I get it. I get that they're the eyeballs on the YouTube, and you gotta present your brand, and I totally get it. But it's just rare that I talk to somebody that's just so genuine and will just tell you the truth as it is, and it's nice to hear, man.
Well, man, I've from the time I was a no-name amateur to now, man, like I just don't give a shit what people think about me. And like hence my nickname, hence my hairstyle, hence my whole attitude. I don't care what you think, because I know the people that love me, they're gonna love me regardless, like win or lose. And because I've had success before in life and wrestling and had those clout chasers. And so I dealt with that through my MMA career, where I had some wins and was on a win streak and people were all there. Then I get knocked out by Hunsucker and I hear crickets on my phone line. So right. Like it literally, like I've had those ups and downs. And so I've learned to not put my faith in those people, instead put those people faith in the people who are there, like my teammates who are showing up to help me train, my girlfriend who supports me when I'm spending countless hours in the gym instead of spending time with her. And that's the reality. My family who's always supported. So I just don't really care what people think. I don't get me wrong, that probably runs off some sponsors, it probably runs off some fans, but I'm not the type that, like, if I don't like you, I'm not gonna sit here and sugarcoat it. I'm gonna tell you I don't fucking like you. And past that, when it comes to training and stuff, like, don't get me wrong, I'm not an asshole to people, like, when they come in and train, like, if you got some knowledge. But like, if you got something that I disagree with, I'm going to be like, all right, well, I see why you do it this way, but my way of thinking on it, here's why I wouldn't do it this way, and here's what I would do instead.
Absolutely.
And so like, like a lot of people, they have this thought process of it's my way or the highway. And so, like, you'll go into some gym and, like, you'll go to show somebody something. Like, prime example, me being a good wrestler and wrestling in college, I go into some of these fucking jiu-jitsu gyms and they're showing takedowns and it's garbage. And I'm like, well, I wouldn't do that. And they're like, well, this is how we do it. It works every time. I'm like, no, man, it would not work against me. Like, and like they literally like they get this damn their ego gets in the way of it, man. And like I said, there's a saying in jiu-jitsu where it's don't be the black belt that can't learn something from the white belt. And like, meaning, like, always be a student too. Like, you could always learn something. Like, and I don't have the attitude like I know everything. Like there's times all the time where my students will bring me like a YouTube video. They're like, hey coach, like, how do we do this? And like, I'll sit here and I'll be like, let me study it. And I'll watch the video good few times, kind of try and figure out what they're doing, where they're putting their feet, their hands, how they're moving their body and stuff, so I can understand it and explain it. And then I'll try and explain it. And I'll be like, now, if it's something that is high percentage, I'll be like, yeah, I think this is going to be a really slick high percentage move. If it's something that I think's dog shit, I'm like, look, you're going to catch this on some people, but not somebody good. Like, have it in your basket, but don't make it your A-list choice.
Absolutely,
Like,
absolutely, and just having that sense of like humility, being humble, and knowing when to stop doing this and to start using these, I think that's huge. And you're gonna get another opportunity again. You're too good to not get another opportunity, and somebody's gonna want to sell a fight, and somebody's going to want to find out if one of these starlets are real, and they're going to put somebody like you in front of them. It's only a matter of time. It will happen again. It's happened once. It happened only a couple months ago.
What's funny is like when I got that fight and they took those pre-fight photos, all these people started ragging me on how I looked and all this shit. And then one of my buddies actually fought on the next Bellator card and knocked out a 205 pounder. Ben Parrish. He goes by Big Ben Tuna.
He'll be on the show like next week.
Yeah. So
super cool guy.
His knockout. Okay. Me and Ben have similar body frames. That's what people don't realize. Is they put this fucking false sense of belief in thinking that these people who look like Goliath, these big steroid fucking junkies, are the elite fighters of the world, and that's not true.
I don't get it though. Like, why would people?
Some of them are. Don't get me wrong. Some of them are.
Yeah.
But that is not the case to every single person. Like, and just because I don't do as many fucking curls as you, doesn't mean that I'm not focused on my right hand more than you.
I know I can't, but let's just say in a fictitious world, I could do more curls than you. What the fuck difference does that make in an octagon?
But that's the arrogance and that's ego. And so you see it all the time as a coach when people come into a martial arts gym to train, whether it's just a jiu-jitsu gym or whatever the hell it is. Like, you see it, man. These guys come in and they have this ego because they can lift a lot of weight and they're athletic and they play football or they were a basketball player, some stupid shit like that they're gonna immediately pick up on how to be a good fighter.
No, it doesn't work that way, man.
It's climbing Mount Everest. It's a long journey. It's what you do over a year, not over a day, and not really even a year. It's what you do over 10 years, and like.
You hit on something, Billy, that I wanted to ask you about. I'm kind of surprised. Like, people like you, people like Ben, like, why is it that people are like talking shit? Like, what is it?
People fat shame, man. And like, don't get me wrong, like, I don't think that I'm necessarily fat and obese, but I guess if you run a BMI, I could technically fit in their statistics somewhere. But dude, I'm athletic as fuck.
But dude,
I can throw flying knees, spinning heel kicks. I can throw all sorts of shit at you.
But
so it doesn't matter how I physically present myself. But like I said, people think because you can go run 10 miles and you're in physically great shape that you're going to be a great fighter. All it takes is 7 pounds of pressure hitting you in the right place in the chin, and you go the fuck to sleep.
I still don't get it though, because this isn't a beauty pageant; it's a fucking fight.
But that's the reality, man. People for some reason, it's like the simple saying of pretty people get further in life. Okay, like, man, and not to hate on some of these women out here, and not to sound like
I know exactly what you're talking about. Yes.
But there's a lot of female fighters that aren't necessarily that technical or that good, but have a pretty face, and they get drawn up to these UFC, Bellator, Invicta, big promotions just because they're a pretty girl and they're a fighter and they'll sell tickets. Here I am slaughtering all these motherfuckers and not getting an opportunity.
I don't care what people look like. Like, honestly, I don't get. I'm saying this sincerely, being a fan of this sport.
Look, I'm telling you, if I was big and monstrous looking like a Marcelo Gomez, I would have been picked up 8 fights ago. I wouldn't have made it through my amateur career before I would have already been picked up by a bigger promotion. But because I look like I look, they want to stereotype me and think that I'm some lazy piece of shit that just sucks. And it's taken me literally knocking off monster after monster till they can't deny that I'm actually on that level.
Well, it's funny though. It's like, if I were you, I'd say you can say whatever the hell you want about me. Then if I'm such a scrub, how come no one wants to fight me?
No, dude,
Straight
it's
up.
exactly what I said. Like
Like if
I don't.
if I'm so bad, then get in the octagon with me. Let's do it. It'll be an easy win for you then, right?
But that's what I'm saying. What's funny, I've taught every time Jack Swagger makes a post, me and my fans get on there talking shit. His own dad replied talking shit back. He won't reply back to me. like like that's the reality, man. These guys are like they're fake pieces of shit. And because they're so up there in that spotlight, man, like somebody like me who doesn't have a million followers gets pushed to the side when they decline me, and I rag them on Facebook because people don't see it because it's not got a million likes.
Right, right.
Like,
Well, I tell you what, at Mom's Basement MMA, brother, I do things differently. You're the type of guy I built this platform for. You're always going to have a platform with me, man. And before I let you go, Billy, I want to give you the opportunity. I know you have a gym. I know you have other things going on. I want to give you the opportunity to, number one, shout out who needs shouting out. And when can we see you back out there?
as far as me getting back out there, so my girlfriend is pregnant with my daughter. She is due January 13th. So I'm trying to hopefully have a fight by the end of the year and then take about a month or two in inactivity, let things settle once she has the baby, and then probably pick back up around April and start fighting again. Um, but as far as like the gym and shout outs, man, one, I want to give shout outs to Chris Henderson and Bonnie Wagner. They both competed out of the gym last night. Chris looked like an absolute monster, dude. Came out there in his first fight, rocks the dude right off the bat with some punches. The dude tries to grab a hold of him. He runs him into the cage, takes him down. Then at about a minute and a half in, postures up and just starts raining down ground and pound from hell, man, and gets a TKO finish. And then Bonnie Wagner, man, she came and started training with. Well, I met her about a year and a half ago. I was coaching at another gym in Alabama, and then that gym closed. And when I first opened, she came up and she makes the drive, dude, at least 4 or 5 times a week from Alabama up to train with me in Chattanooga. And we started working on her ground game because she didn't really have any wrestling, any jiu-jitsu. And, man, she just took a fight last night with a girl who should be a purple belt in jiu-jitsu. She's had her blue belt for like 4 years, trains a lot of jiu-jitsu. And they had like a 3-round war, man. And every time that girl went to go take her down, Bonnie defended the takedown, turned her around on the cage, started landing some shots on her. And so ended up winning by unanimous decision. So I have to say, definitely proud of both of them. I've got a lot of up-and-comers about to kind of jump out there and start fighting. And as far as the gym goes, man, anybody, like, you don't have to be a competitor to come to my gym. Anybody that's looking to lose weight, just learn self-defense, women, children, anything, man. I have classes all week. I'm open 7 days a week. Monday through Friday, I'm open 8 a.m. to 8 p.m. With a wide variety of classes in that schedule. Saturdays, I'm open 10 a.m. to 4 p.m. Sunday, I'm open 1 to 4. So if you're ever in Chattanooga and you just want to come in and learn some martial arts, you're more than welcome to pop in.
And the link to the gym will be in the description for this video. Be sure to hit that up if you are in Billy's area. And also, please like this video if you guys are seeing it on YouTube. And most importantly, follow Billy. He hit on a lot of things that kind of suck, but they're true. Like the Instagram followers, like I don't give a shit how many people follow me, and I know he doesn't really give a shit, but he kind of has to for the whole fighting thing. That's basically it. So be a G, follow him. Billy, I appreciate your time, and let's do it again, man.
Hey, anytime, brother.